Hello, everyone. Today we have Muthu with us, who is an Indian astrologer who focuses on Vedic astrologer. Thank you very much for joining us today. He would like to present his work, and he's going to tell us all about his field of study. Please do. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for, first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me for this event. So let me introduce myself. My name is Muthu Vijayan Elango and people call me Muthu. I am an astrologer, Vedic astrologer, author, instructor, and life coach. So these are the four areas I'm primarily focused on. I do astrology consultation integrated with life coaching. And I also teach Vedic astrology for over 4,000 students on Udemy. And I also do one-to-one mentorship for them. And I also developed an artificial intelligence astrology chatbot, which basically called as Parasara Jyothish Bot. So this bot is capable of fetching the birth details from the user, and it uses the ChatGPT GPT 3.5 model, and it will be able to give personalized predictions for the user. And I also authored 2 books, which are all available in the Amazon. So you can contact me at Muthu Vijayan Elango at innovativeastrosolution.com, and my number is also displayed here. So in this occasion, I would like to present some basic introduction about Vedic astrology, so which may give like overview of what is the Vedic astrology is all about. So first, we'll talk about Vedic period. In India, the Vedic period is ranging from 1500 to 600 BC, which is when the Vedas, which are the oldest sacred text of Hinduism, which actually forms the basis of classical Hinduism. So this period is called a Vedic period, and this is the period when Vedas are actually composed. So Vedas is a big text actually. So it composed of many things. Apart from Vedas, there are many other things like Puranas, Itikashas, so many things. But since we are focusing mainly on the astrology, I'll talk about Veda and how the astrology is linked from the Veda. Okay. So there are 4 pillars of Veda. There are 4 Vedas actually. So the first one is called Rig Veda, so which is basically the pricing elements of the nature and cosmos. And the second one is Yajur Veda, which describes about the procedure of worship of nature and cosmos. And the third one is Shama Veda, which is the musical rules for the recitation of mantras. And the last one is Atharva Veda, which defines the rule for steady state life and daily life events actually. So now we'll talk about limbs of Veda. So Vedas have limbs, which are kind of branches. There are 6 limbs of Veda. The first one is called Shiksha, which talks about the phonetics. And the second one is called Vyakarna, which is the study of grammar. And the third one is Chandas, which is the study of linguistic rhythm. And the fourth one is called Nirkuta, which is the study of etymology. And the fifth one is called Jyotisha, which is the study of astronomy and auspicious timing. And this is what we call it as a Vedic astrology, Jyotisha. And the last one is called Kalpa, which talks about the ritual procedures in the Vedas. So of all the 6 limbs, the Jyotisha is given the higher importance, like higher capabilities, and it is often called as eye of the Veda. Okay. And this is the classical definition of Vedic astrology or Jyotisha. So Vedic astrology is the ancient science that examines the influence of stars and planets on human life. And to tell it in a very simple way, Jyotisha is the best time telescope for the human mankind. Okay. And there is also a disclaimer here, because most people think astrology is a very fatalistic science. Whether it is a Vedic astrology or Western astrology, people tend to believe that it is a fatalistic science. But it should be also noted that astrology is a science of tendencies. And we must underscore that any adopting a fatalistic or deterministic outlook towards horoscope, whether it is an individual horoscope or it's a national horoscope, is definitely not appropriate. Okay. So now we have seen what is the definition of Jyotisha. So there is a huge philosophical background why the Jyotisha exists today and how it came into existence actually. Okay, so let's talk about that for 10 more minutes. Okay. So there is something called problem of evil, which is a very philosophical question. It's been there for quite wild all over the world. Okay. So what is the problem of evil? So in every religion, the God is something believed. So God is always believed to be so powerful, right? If God is so powerful and God is capable of removing all the sufferings, then why there is a suffering existing in this world? So that's a very logical question that every reader of science will put in, right? And why do some people suffer and some people rejoice? Because some people born with silver spoon, but some people born in a very humble background. So there should be something else, right? And why there is a disparity in human life. Not all people have the same exposure to the environment, same education, so many things. So Professor Arthur Herman, in his book, The Problem of Evil and Indian Thought, he proposes 23 answers for this disparity in human life. And finally, he concludes that of all the 23 answers, the most convincing answer is nothing but the law of karma. Okay, so that's why the law of karma gets the very, very high importance in Indian philosophy. And this serves as the basis for Vedic astrology. Okay, so now we are going to delve a little deeper into the what is law of karma and how it is related to the Vedic astrology. Okay. Okay. Now, there is something called cause and effect. Okay, which is what we call it as karma. Like if somebody is a reader of science, Newton's third law, which everybody is related to, right? The cause and the effect, right? For every action, there will be equal and opposite reaction. That's what the Newton's third law. So the same applies to the human life, which we call it as a karma. So the karma is set when the first action is performed, and that creates the causality. And because that action has to be reconciled, there will be birth and death to get the reap of that results, right? And this is what we call it as a doctrine of karma.
Right.
Right. Now, as per the Indian philosophy, there are three types of karma. One is called sanchita karma, and the second one is prarabdha karma, and the third one is called agamiya karma. Okay. So the sanchita karma is the whole collection of our karma in all our birth, okay, all our previous birth. And prarabdha karma is nothing but the finite portion of sanchita karma we have taken in this birth. So that's what we call it as a prarabdha karma. And the portion of karma that is yet to be right is called agamiya karma, or the karma that is going to happen in the future. Like based on the current birth, we do some action, and that karma will again add it to the agamiya karma. Okay, so this is the broad classification of karma. Now, to give an example, like how this karma is can be understood in a very simple way. So humans tend to perform any action, right? The good action, we call it as a dharma, which leads to punya, okay, which is a good deed, and which can lead to shuka. Shuka means it's a what do you call it? The reap of good results or happiness. What we call it shuka. All the good results we call it shuka. And the opposite of that is called adharma, which may lead to paba, and which may lead to dukkha. Dukkha means sorrow, right? So to give an analogy, dharma, punya, shuka, I have assigned as a green apple, whereas the adharma, paba, and shuka, dukkha, I have assigned as like red chili. Okay, but we do both actions. Sometimes we may do good, sometimes we may do bad to somebody. Okay, so we do dharma and we do sometimes do adharma also. That's the nature of human. And this collective of dharma and adharma, which leads to punya and paba, is what we accumulate as a sanchita karma. Okay, so sanchita karma is the whole collection of our dharma and adharma. Okay, so that's the sanchita karma. Now, this sanchita karma is the collection of mix of dharma and adharma, and some of that sanchita karma is reaped in this particular birth that we call it as a prarabdha karma, right? Some people may have less apple and more chili in this birth. That's why they may suffer more than the other person. But some other person may born with more apple like more of punya and less of papa. So that's the reason the suffering in their life may be very less, but the good results in their life may be more.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the reason, like why some people suffer more and some people are happier more. Okay, so whenever somebody have a confusion, like why I am, even though I am doing a lot of good things in this birth, still I am suffering. So that's because of a baggage of lot of power that I've accumulated in the previous birth. So this is what the theory of karma puts into the things into action. Okay, now how this astrology and karma are related? Okay, now the astrology is something we see like it's the influence of planetary nature on humans, and we say that the karma is nothing but the accumulation of our past acts. But how these both are related? So there is a yogi called Paramahamsa Yogananda, and his book Autobiography of Yogi is a very famous book available all over the world. And his guru is called Swami Sri Yukteswar. He beautifully puts how the astrology and karma are related. So he says that a child is born on that day and at that hour when the celestial rays are in mathematical harmony with one's individual karma. His horoscope is challenging portrait, revealing his unalterable past and its probable future results. So basically, we take birth in a particular day, in a particular time, to a particular family, to a particular parents, purely based on our own karma. So this clearly answers the problem of evil. So even though God is lovable, God is omnipotent, and God is capable of removing any kind of suffering, but still the God don't remove the suffering because the suffering is not created by God, it is created by our own karma. Right. So that's like a very profound answer we get when we try to relate astrology and karma. So we basically suffer based on our own karma, which is actually indicated in our horoscope. So this is how the astrology and karma are related. Now let's see like what horoscope actually reveals. Right now we understood what is karma, what is astrology, and how these two are related. Now we need to understand what horoscope actually reveal. Right. Let's take an example. Let's assume a kitchen like this. Right. And let's say I'm working in a kitchen. Okay. I'm trying to get to office, but I am on a hurry. I'm trying to prepare some food for me. In that hurry, I spilled out some oil. Okay. And I don't have any time to wipe it out. So I need to rush to my office. So I just go there. Okay. I leave it as it is and I'm going there. So in office, I have a lot of hectic day. I have a lot of work. I have a lot of meetings. So I really don't forget what happened in the morning. Okay. Now, in the evening, I come back to the kitchen and I really don't realize what happened in the morning. I just keep my leg. The oil spilled down. So I fell down. Right. This is the actual scenario. But let's say after I go to office, somebody comes in and put a signboard. Okay, there is oil here. So I'll put a signboard and they go actually. So that when I come back, I know that the oil is there. So I will take a caution, right? Oops. In this case, what will happen? So if I come in the evening, even though I forget everything what happened in the morning, but moment I saw the signboard, I'm able to relate, oh, okay, there is some oil spillage here. So let me wipe it out first, then I'll go into the kitchen. So I can take a necessary precaution before doing any action. So this is exactly what we call horoscope. So horoscope is nothing but the signboard of the actions based on our past karma. So our karma is what indicating the consequence of our past action, which is actually indicated in the form of horoscope. So basically the horoscope clearly gives the signboards. So based on your horoscope, you can read the signboards. Okay, this is something I should not invest. This is the career I should choose. This is something maybe more empowering to me. And this is the financial investment I should look in. This is something I should avoid. So all kind of signboards is what exactly the horoscope is revealing. The person who brilliantly uses this guidance will be able to get more success and able to reduce the number of suffering in his life. So that's the whole idea of how horoscope is revealing the consequence of our past karma. But there is another philosophical question. Okay, I can understand what is the karma. I can understand what is the astrology. I can understand what the horoscope can indicate. But I'm still confused, like where it all started. There is some starting point for my action to accumulate karma, right? So basically, as per Indian philosophy, every soul is called Atman. Okay, Atman is nothing but the pure soul. But the pure soul, because of its own ignorant that it is the pure soul, it start performing some action with an affection and love or some expectations. So the moment we perform some action with expectations, the karma will attach it. Then the karma is attached, then you need to reap a result. As per the Newton's third law, as you for every action there should be some reaction, right? But our life is very short. Maybe somebody can live up to 80, 100 years. So in the same 100 years, nobody can see the consequence of his actions. So that's why the death will happen and the accumulated karma will make you to get a rebirth. And again, we do some action, we get karma, and the results of karma we enjoy or suffer in this life, and again death. So this is a cycle of kind of a vicious cycle where the birth and death and action, pava, punya, dharma, adharma. So all these things will keep going and going and going. So that's why in Indian philosophy we call it as a chain of karma. Chain means there is no start, there is no end, right? Okay, now we understood karma is a cycle, but how do we break that cycle? So somehow we need to break it, right? Otherwise we'll be keep on in the cycle for vicious cycle for a long time. So there is again Indian philosopher who is called Swami Vivekananda. He is a very famous philosopher known in the Western country. So he beautifully says that there is a way to break free this karma. Once you break free this karma, you are not bound by any karma, no consequence of your actions, no horoscope will work actually. No planets can influence you. Okay, so that's the highest goal for a human as per the Indian philosophy. So I will just summarize this because it's a very long. So what he says is like, let's consider a two wheel joined by a pole. Okay, one wheel is what your true soul and the other wheel is what your body and mind, right? And when these two wheels are rotating with the help of by joining the pole, now if I cut the pole with an axe, then the two wheels are just split away, right? It will split away. But still the wheel that is hold in my hand, which is called soul, will stop immediately. But whereas the other wheel, due to its inertia, will run for some period of time. So that's exactly what the Indian philosophy say about the mukti, jivan mukta. Like for example, if some person in Indian philosophy is able to attain the higher jivan mukta, they will still be living this life, suffering based on their past karma, but their karma will be cut off from this birth. They will not have a birth again. Their chain is cut. But due to some inertia, in this particular birth, even though they become a jivan mukta, they will again face some problems, some sufferings will be there. But after this birth is over, the chain is cut and there is no birth, there is no death. So this is the highest form of philosophy taught in India, so that every soul in this world should aim for breaking the chain of karma, so that the birth and death is free of birth and death, and we go and attain the state of God. So this is a kind of a summary. So ignorant man, based on his ignorance, he do some action and he accumulates karma. The karma started reaping results in the birth, and some of the results which we are not able to enjoy will again be resulted in the next birth. So this cycle will go on again. But as the human soul gets knowledge of true self and start doing the action without attachment and get the higher knowledge and get the jivan mukta, then they can break free of karma. And that's when we are totally free of karma and the planets cannot influence us. So, but that is a very, very long journey. Like even Indian philosophy, they say that a man can take maybe a thousands of birth before going to that state. But until then, astrology is the best time telescope. So that's all I have. So I think this might have given a brief introduction about the background of Vedic astrology and how the Vedic astrology is found in the philosophical text.
Well, thank you very much. It was very clear. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So you taught us a little bit about what your philosophy is, what you follow. I wanted to ask specifically, how do you apply this philosophy in your practice? Would you take us through some steps, maybe that you do during your consultations with clients?
Right. See, first of all, during consultations, we need to check like what is the positive points in the horoscope and what are the suffering points in the horoscope. Because I always say that there is no like trouble-free horoscope in the any world. Because if it was trouble-free, we will not have a birth and we don't have a horoscope. So first we need to see like what are the positive points in the chart and what are the negative points in the chart. And we need to focus more on the positive aspects. We need to get rid of the negative thing. For example, if somebody comes to me and say that they are running a very good business, like they're very successful business, but somehow their relationship is something very troubling for them. Okay. When I look at the chart, it will be very clear that the career point of view will be very good in the chart, but whereas the relationship point of view will be not very great actually. That's why they are keep on suffering and suffering. So my advice would be always to focus more on the career and less on the relationship, because it is already weak in the chart. There is no point beating around the same thing again and again, because that's what it is. It is based on your karma. Let's not do too much. Let's not focus too much on that. Focus on what is best in your chart and try to do some service to the society through your work, and you can reduce your karma. And based on that, in the next birth, probably the native may get a good karma. So that's something I practically say to the clients.
Well, thank you. So in a way, you help people realize where their difficulties are and how to work on them in this lifetime so that they can have an easier time in the lifetimes to come.
Correct. Right.
Well, that's fascinating. What about your institute, Innovative Astro Solutions? How did you come by to creating it?
Okay. So basically my background is I'm an engineer actually. So I'm a mechanical engineer. So back then I was working in a MNC company for a period of a decade. Then since I learned astrology from my father in a very early age, the fascination to astrology was always there for me. So in 2013, I started the Innovative Astro Solution, keeping in mind that I wanted to bring some innovative ideas in the field of astrology. So that's my motto. Then back then in 2018, I decided to leave my corporate job to focus completely on astrology. So then I started astrology consultation, where I started helping people in the different walk of life, like people coming for a career consultation, relationship consultation, business consultation. So trying to help in the multiple areas for the people. And back then I was also learning life coaching. So that's when I thought, okay, it's not only trying to read horoscope and say what it is, but I also wanted to give some practical steps, like what best can be done to minimize the problems and maximize the good things in their horoscope. So that's when the life coaching started helping me a lot. Okay, then in 2020, in the same Innovative Astro Solution, I started teaching astrology, because I came to know that a lot of people started consulting me. So I'm sure that I'm not the only person. I can help many people. So I wanted to make much more astrologers who can help other people, right? So that's when I started creating a courses in Vedic astrology, and till now, like more than 4,000 people enrolled in that course. And after they finish it, the basic fundamental course, some people come to me and they ask for a deep learning, like they wanted to go with 1-to-1 6 months dedicated learning. And I do that, and some of them are become like individual astrologers by themselves now.
Wow.
So this is the whole story of innovative astro solution. And right now we are also working on other technologies, like try to how we can take the leverage of artificial intelligence to the field of astrology. We are trying to develop some GPT kind of a bot.
Oh,
So these are
that's
all like,
also very interesting. Yes. And I wanted to ask, since you have started using some kind of artificial intelligence in your work, how do you think that in the future the practice of astrology and the evolution of artificial intelligence are going to go? Do you think that many more astrologers are going to start trying to use it as well?
yes, yes. See, definitely artificial intelligence is a boon, because as a human, we have certain limitations of how many number of combinations we can remember. But that's when the machines can feed into any number of data, and even the data can be reiterated. For example, right now I have some 5,000 horoscope with my hand. So all those details, all those findings can be trained to the artificial intelligence, so it can quickly give some like pre-analysis for an astrologer to do. So that can be a very great boon. But if you ask me, like, whether the artificial intelligence is capable of replacing the real-time astrologer, definitely not, because the astrology is not only a logical subject. Of course, it involves some logics, some science, maths, everything, but it is more intuitive also. So that's where the artificial intelligence is not intuitive. It is basically, it has the intelligence, but it doesn't have a consciousness, right? So only the human have consciousness. So only when consciousness is there, we can apply the intuition. So artificial intelligence is definitely a boon for our pre-analysis, and it can take a leverage. So we can feed data, we can train it, we can make it better. So for astrologer, it is a boon. And for even for public, for small clarification, it can be useful, very useful. But for a deep questions, like deep spiritual questions, all those things, yeah, human interaction is definitely important.
Yeah. So you believe it will be a useful tool to help astrologers, but it will never be able to replace it, because I
Exactly.
know that some people fear we're going to be, taken over by technology and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to, get a sense of how far Italian culture has reached in the world. So we would like to know if um, you have ever, read or come by work done by any Italian astrologers or any spiritual figures coming from Italy.
Mm, I think in one of the conference I attended in Calcutta, I met one. I think he is a yoga instructor, not an astrologer actually, but he has some background in astrology. So I met him. So that's the only incident I met an Italian. He is a yoga instructor basically, and he knows some background in astrology. So that's the only instance when I met somebody from Italy.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. We've been, trying to know, because all this work we do, of course, we're trying to globalize our tradition as well as that
Mm.
of other countries, which is uh, all the more enriching, to the practice. Uh, you mentioned, going to these conventions. Is there any other practice, be it spiritual or more logical, that you incorporate into your readings?
Mm, Not really. Basically, I generally don't go with the traditional methods of remedies. In India, there are several forms of remedies, like there is something called mantras, jabas, then there is a gemstone, and visiting a particular temple, all those things. I generally encourage people doing meditation and mantra chanting, because I always believe there is a power for mantra, chanting and sounds. So I generally recommend that, but I generally don't recommend any other gemstones or all those things. But I try to make kind of a practical steps for them. If somebody discuss about a career problem, I really deep dive into see like what is the root cause of that problem, trying to understand, okay, what's really making them stress. Is that the job nature, or it's the people whom he or she is interacting. So trying to get into the root cause and see what are the astrological indication in their chart. So trying to combine these two and try to give some practical solution, because I always believe that unless we make some conscious steps, nothing can be changed actually. So astrology is the greatest tool to find what are the consequence indicated in the chart, and what are the things that actually people is facing, trying to combine these two and arrive at a practical steps, actually, practical solutions, so that the person can engage in those practical solutions.
Makes perfect sense, you know. We always, you know, try and get people to not just believe in the power of astrology, but, you know, use it and apply it to better their lives, even if that takes some work that may be difficult.
Right.
And well, I must say, thank you again very, very much for joining us and giving us a little bit of your time. I think this would be a perfect way to conclude our interview. And we hope to hear from you very soon again. And we hope you enjoyed this as much as we did.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I hope everybody have enjoyed this. And I'm happy to be part of your team in the future also.
Of course.
Thank you so much. Thank you and namaste.
Thank you.